Maybe you mean well, you're a very kind person. You go out of your way to help the people around you in some way. But somehow, despite all your efforts, do you feel that you don't get the respect you deserve? You are experiencing the biggest problem that polite people and kind people experience. Unfortunately, today's world doesn't respect polite people, kind people very much. Some of the things that we do as a favor to other people can be interpreted as being a loser, especially in that dominant world system. I would like to talk about some things that you should pay attention to in order to be a little bit aware of these things and to protect ourselves, to be a more respectable person. The first behavior that is interpreted by other people as being a loser is apologizing too much, even if it's done with good intentions. Maybe you are very afraid of offending other people. You think, no harm will come to me, I won't even break anyone's heart. But unfortunately, this is not how it is perceived from the outside. If you are a person who apologizes 20 or 30 times a day, if you walk around with a sign that says, I apologize even for the inconvenience I caused, of course, metaphorically speaking, other people think that you don't deserve respect, maybe realizing, maybe unconsciously, that you don't deserve respect because you don't have confidence in yourself, and I won't have confidence in you because you don't have confidence in yourself. And then when you apologize so many times, it can even become a subject of ridicule by some people. Unless what you did was really bad, unless you really hurt someone, please don't apologize unnecessarily. Every unnecessary apology will take away a piece of your dignity, and you will be perceived as a loser. We face many problems during the day. Many people ask us questions. We may have to explain things somehow. But the ratio of words we use here is so important. Think of it like this. You have to explain something. Someone said to you, I will even give a very simple example. Someone on the road asked you for an address. You somehow explained it in 3 or 5 reasonable sentences. There is no problem here. But when you sit down and try to explain an issue in 30, 40, or 50 sentences, people interpret this as weakness. People interpret this as incompetence, inexperience. In business life, in school life, as I said, you need to use the ideal level that you can explain. Explaining too much, talking too much, somehow explaining yourself over and over again will be interpreted as weakness from the other side. Why? Because it says that people's mental mechanisms, sometimes the person is not even aware of it. If he is giving so many explanations, probably this person doesn't believe in what he is saying and he doesn't believe in himself. Why should I believe him? So it's good to reduce the unnecessary words we use a little bit. I think this is what we call sacrifice. It is one of the most beautiful virtues in the world. But if a person sacrifices too much to the people around him, if he sacrifices even to those who do evil to him, without discriminating between good and bad, and if he continues to make those who use him, there is a situation like this. Do you know how you are perceived by others? You are doing all these things, perhaps with a lot of effort, but the man outside thinks that if Ben is putting it out there unintentionally, there is much more to it than that. That's why those rare stones that you put forward, maybe you pluck them from somewhere deep inside you and put them forward with pain. He treats them as pebbles. That's why you have to sacrifice for the deserving. If the person in front of you is a malicious person, if the person in front of you is using you, making unnecessary sacrifices will cause that person, those people to use you. When someone praises you, says something nice, or compliments you, can't you accept that praise, that compliment? Are you explaining too much to somehow deny it or somehow devalue it? And that is interpreted in the real world, unfortunately, as being a loser. Maybe you think you are being humble. Maybe you think you are doing a good deed. But unfortunately, the real world doesn't interpret it that way. Let's say someone likes your outfit, likes your hair, tells you how beautiful that outfit is. You immediately go into an explanation. You say, I bought it from the market for 15 liras. Or he got his hair done and says it's beautiful. You immediately say, well, I just happened to have it done. You show a good success. You put forward a good thesis. When someone praises you, you say, it just happened, our teacher suggested it. It happened because of this. If you never accept praise, after a while people think that you really don't deserve that praise. So if someone praises you, please accept it. Some people don't want to do anything alone. They always want someone to be with them, even for things that sometimes come very easily. They will go to the hospital, they will go to the hairdresser, they will go to the movies, they will apply for a job. She always wants someone by her side. Of course, it is natural to not want to be alone in some situations, but if you are always dependent on other people, after a while it seems as if people interpret you as an immature person who is not mature enough to do anything on your own. One of the most important conditions for a person to be perceived as strong is to be able to do things on your own without other people. If you can do that, you are seen as strong. You are seen as a more respectable person. Maybe you complain about everything because you expect attention. You are always whining. You are always complaining to people about every problem in your life. Think about your relationship with the people around you. Think about your dialogues, your conversations. If the content of these conversations always consists of you complaining about something, if your conversations with people always consist of conversations in which you complain about life, your lover, your spouse, your job, your money situation, after a while people start to get bored with your conversations. Somehow they start to get bored of you too. They start to stay away from you. I can tell you this. Of course you will talk about your troubles. Of course you will vent. But if this is your only agenda, it is both a pity for the other person and a pity for you. Especially in romantic relationships, putting someone at the center of your life is a very serious problem. I see a situation like this in women and sometimes in men. Someone will come into my life and then somehow everything in my life will be complete after that. Unfortunately, this is not realistic. You exist with yourself. You exist as an individual. Of course, social relationships, romantic relationships will enrich your soul. But if you are always dependent on other people for your own existence, you know what happens? People get bored with you again, as I just said, and the people who are dependent are the people who put other people at the center of their lives. They are afraid of being abandoned, but they overwhelm and cling to those people so much. Unfortunately, most of the time, what they fear happens to them. As an individual, you have to accept your own existence. Of course, we need other people, but other people should never be indispensable for you. There is a saying I always say. Maybe if you have been following me before, you have heard this saying. If you are an angel, they will be disturbed by the sound of your wings. Whatever you do, try your best to please other people. Still, some of the people, even some of the people to whom you have done a lot of good, will criticize you. But if you break down in the face of criticism, if you are always trying to prove yourself, trying to explain yourself, then that prevents you from being a respectable person. Unfortunately, people don't respect you again. Unfortunately, the more successful you are, the more criticism you will receive, the more negative comments you will receive. But if you give an answer to every criticism, if you somehow try to answer even a person who is not in your class, you will see that you fall to the quality of the person you are answering. Therefore, you really need to respond to the criticisms of the people you really need to respond to, the people with whom you really benefit from being in contact. You need to listen to the criticisms of those people. But if you have an answer for every word, after a while you will realize that people don't respect you as much as they used to. As I said, a human being is an individual being. Sometimes he has to make his own decisions on his own. But if you always get the approval of the people around you in every step you take, in every work you do, maybe even in a pair of shoes or a pair of socks you buy, people start to respect you again. Because in their minds, Bayhan cannot do anything on her own. This means that Bayhan is somehow either not a very smart person or somehow not a person who has the power and strength to manage her life. If you don't want to create this, you have to do something on your own. Of course, sometimes you can make mistakes. Sometimes things may not go the way you want. But this is part of life. Very, very natural. Don't be afraid to do something on your own. It's okay to get approval once in a while. But if it becomes the center of your life, it's a problem. So my dear friend, have you experienced behaviors in your daily life that are misunderstood by other people or interpreted as being a loser, even though you normally have very good intentions? Have you experienced it in some way? You can share them with us in the comment section. Thank you for listening to me, beautiful person. Be very good to yourself. See you soon. Mental Transformation YT.